let's talk about logic. We all feel like we have a pretty good handle on it, right? It's about being rational, solving puzzles, making sense. But what if I told you that the logic we use every day for things like Sudoku and computer code is just one flavor, and that there's another, much deeper kind of logic out there?
Seriously, when you hear the word logic, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, yeah, it's probably stuff like math proofs or maybe a good old-fashioned argument where you're trying to prove a point. It's a system, a set of rules for getting from A to B. But is that the whole story? So, take a look at this. On the left, you've got the usual suspects: computer code, math, puzzles. These are all systems with formal rules. But then look at the right. These statements feel just as logical, maybe even more so. A thing is itself. Something cannot both be and not be. These aren't calculations. They feel like they're about reality itself.
And that contrast really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Are we lumping two totally different things under the same name? Could there be a kind of logic that's less about following a process and more about having a direct line to what's real?
Well, it turns out this isn't a new idea at all. The source material for this explainer dives right into this, laying out two very different kinds of logic. And honestly, once you see the distinction, it kind of changes everything. Okay, so here's the breakdown. On one side, you've got formal logic. Think of it like a game with very strict rules. It's a symbolic system that only works inside its own little world. This is the logic of computer science and math departments. But on the other side, we have what our source calls logic per se. This isn't a system. It's the very act of reasoning. It's about orienting yourself to reality. It's the classic art of thinking. And you can totally see this split in how we talk today. Formal logic has basically cornered the market on the word logic, especially in academia. But logic per se is everywhere. We've just given it different names. When we talk about pure reason, or good judgment, or the ancient art of dialectic, getting to the truth through conversation, we're actually talking about this deeper kind of logic.
Now this is where things get really, really cool. This distinction isn't just for philosophers to argue about. It suggests that one of these forms of logic is fundamentally, deeply connected to the nature of reality itself.
You might think, okay, sure, this logic per se probably just borrows a few ideas from metaphysics, the branch of philosophy that deals with what's real. But the claim our source makes is so much stronger than that.
Boom, there it is. Logic per se is metaphysics in action. It's not some tool you pick up to do philosophy. It is philosophy happening in real time. It's your mind lawfully connecting with what is real.
So why is that? Well, it's because this kind of logic comes with some foundational commitments baked right in. To even start thinking this way, you have to accept a few things: that reality can be understood, that you can't build arguments on nothing, and that the world exists whether you're thinking about it or not. These aren't rules for a game, they're basic truths about the world.
Okay, I know this might sound a little abstract, but we can actually find clues that point to this difference hidden in history, and even in the way we talk. So let's put on our detective hats for a minute. Check out this amazing quote from way back in 1790. It says that dialectic, one of our aliases for logic per se, uses no middle terms. Now what on earth does that mean? Well, to get it, we first need to know what a middle term even is. Here it is, the most famous example of formal logic ever, a syllogism. The word man is the key here. See how it appears in the first two statements but not the conclusion? That's the middle term. It's the bridge that connects Socrates to mortality. It's how formal logic builds its case step by careful step. But dialectic, our historical quote tells us, doesn't do that. It doesn't build a nice, neat bridge. It just makes a direct cut. It makes an absolute statement. Something is or it is not. No connecting piece needed.
And here's our second clue, this time from the world of public speaking and writing. There's this device called a syndeton. It's just a fancy word for when you intentionally leave out the little connecting words, the ands, the buts, the therefores.
Julius Caesar's legendary boast is the perfect example. He didn't say, "I came, and then I saw, and as a result, I conquered." No. He just lays out the facts. Boom, boom, boom. The effect is immediate, powerful, and direct. There are no middle terms.
So you see the connection. Asyndeton is like the stylistic echo of dialectic. They both work by stripping out the connective tissue. They don't want to gently guide you through a long argument. They want to put two things in stark contrast and let your own mind make the leap. Okay, so what's the end game here? Why would you want a logic that gets rid of all the connecting words and steps? Well, the goal is something pretty profound.
The purpose of logic per se isn't to slowly build a case, like a lawyer in a courtroom, brick by logical brick, until you finally arrive at your conclusion. That's formal logic's job. This is after something else entirely. Its whole purpose is to create stunning clarity. It's designed to force a choice, to create a clear fork in the road between two ideas that can't both be true. It clears out all the messy middle ground so that your mind can just see the truth directly. It's about apprehension, not just calculation. This has a beautiful old name, sapientia immediata. It literally translates to immediate wisdom. It's the kind of wisdom that doesn't come at the end of a long proof, but hits you in a flash of insight. And this goes all the way back to the ancient Greek philosopher Parmenides. He argued that the most fundamental act of thinking is to make that one decisive cut, the ultimate split between what is and what is not. Once you make that separation cleanly, the truth just becomes obvious.
So the real prize of using logic per se isn't a complex answer you had to work for. It's an insight that feels necessary, self-evident. It's this moment of direct recognition of how things are, once all the noise and contradiction has been swept away.
Which leaves us with a final question to chew on. The next time you find yourself thinking through a really tough problem, ask yourself, am I just moving pieces around a game board here, just following the rules? Or am I trying to make a clean cut, trying to see things as they really are, and actually connect with reality itself?